Sandy, Bookstahooda, because I spend so much time in my car these days that I have absolutely zero time to film at home. The quality of, you know, there might not be as many like moments, but we'll see how this new format goes, like driving with Bookstahooda, I don't know, Bookstahooda on the road, I don't know. I was just listening to a book podcast called Dear Reader, I think, something like that. They do the Book Riot, or they're from a website called Book Riot. I saw it because of some tweet that Rainbow Rowell made or something, I don't remember. But I needed new podcasts because I'm in my car all the flippin' time. And the questions that they were talking about were really cool, and I wanted to have some of my own thoughts on them and talk about it. So, firstly, they discussed how one has a finite number of books that one will be able to read in one's life. You know, the fact that, I mean, some person who wrote into their show did the math about, you know, their grandparents died at this age, and this person reads he reads X amount of books per year. So he did the math, and he only was going to be able to read 1,700 books if everything stayed the same, and he died around the same time as his grandparents died, which, that really puts it into perspective. You know, like, every year I read about 50 books, so if I live, well, my family tends to be pretty long-lived. My great-grandfather lived to be 93. My maternal family lives a long time. My paternal family, not so much, because they drink too much and don't take care of themselves. So yeah, if I were to think about that, if I live to be, let's be optimistic and say 80, and I read 50 books a year until I'm 80, that's it's 52 years times 50 books. How many is that? I'm terrible at math, especially this early, especially when I'm driving. Anyway, regardless of the math, there is a finite number of books that I will be able to read in my lifetime, and, you know, my TBR pile is really big. I have many books in it. I still want to read many books that aren't even out yet. You know, I know that now that I have a bevy of young adult authors who put out pretty much a book a year, like, I would like to read everything they write. And since I was at BookCon, I have even more authors that I want to get into now because I saw them speak at panels, and I'm like, oh, that book actually, they're so cool, I would like to read their book. Mainly Laini Taylor and Victoria Aveyard. I saw a panel with them and Sarah J. Maas, and it was great. I was in the front row! I guess, I don't think that it's actually going to change my reading habits, but, I mean, they were also talking about how there's no, like, there's no list that you have to get through, but my family is so, there is a list. Like, I have to read the canon. I'm at my place of employment, in the teacher lot. That is the one nice thing about working here. Well, I mean, there are other nice things too, but one of the amenities that adjunct faculty get are, you know, free access to the faculty parking lot. You do not have to pay for parking at all here, which I love, because at my previous job you had to pay $125 per semester, which I just didn't do because I didn't want to, and they never gave me a ticket, so it was pretty sweet. I didn't feel like I deserved to pay for parking after being a part of that university for almost a decade. So, this has been kind of fun. I might do this next time too. Bye! Hello! Welcome back to Car Cam! That's not a bad name. That's not a good place for that. I don't know where to put this. Anyway, hello! Again, I was just listening to another podcast and I had another idea because I've realized I've become, of late, more and more nerdy in my, well, I mean, I've always been nerdy, but I've never been as intellectually interested as I have been of late, and I have just realized the reason. I think it's because I'm no longer being forced to consume anything at all, except for the books I'm teaching, which, this semester I've got it real easy because I've already taught one of the courses before. The other stuff, we just do the whole thing in class, so I don't even have to lesson plan. It's kind of the best. But I think because I'm not in any courses and I'm not in a book club, I'm starting to actually want to read some things like that. I was just thinking, man, I could listen to some Dickens audiobooks. That'd be pretty good. There's one of Great Expectations that I used to like as a kid. Maybe, I don't know, just the freedom to choose has made me want to consume more things. Oh, this was spurred by I've been listening to the Dear Reader podcast by Book Riot a lot. It's a very good podcast. And they just discussed Pride and Prejudice in great detail, and the librarian hadn't read Pride and Prejudice, and I was like, wow, even I've read that, and I've read almost nothing. At least things that an English major typically has read. I haven't read any of them. Like, I haven't read Moby Dick, I haven't read a lot of Dickens, and for a Victorianist too, like, Victorian is my thing, supposedly. If only one could get a major in young adult literature, I would be on top of that. All of Austen. I've read Pride and Prejudice and most of Persuasion. Yeah, I want to read Sense and Sensibility next because I love the movie. I'm thinking an like a performance audiobook would be good for that. If only they could just have, you know, it with the movie cast doing the audiobook, that'd be great. But I'm sure it doesn't exist. This morning I wanted to buy the Hamilton audiobook because I have the physical book, but I barely have time to read anything these days, so I want to get the audiobook, and it'll honestly only take me a week. This is only 6 hours long, which seems so short, but 6 hours of Lin-Manuel Miranda talking at me about Hamilton? I'm ready for that. So many of these books that I have as well, and they just sit there. I haven't read as much Shakespeare as I should. Not even close to the amount of Shakespeare I should have read. Dickens, Austen, George Eliot. I've only read Middlemarch and Mel and the Floss, and a bunch of her essays, and her biography. A lot of poets I just haven't read a bunch of. I haven't read any Keats, really. I hate Hemingway, so. I mean, I'm more interested in him now that I've read some of my students' papers about him, but I, like, really didn't like his abrupt writing style. I hate Faulkner. Don't hate me. Hate is such a strong word. I should really reserve that hate for Faulkner. Not Hemingway. Hemingway, I'm just kind of like, no thank you. Poe, I haven't read all of Poe. I haven't read all of Oscar Wilde, which I really should because I love his writing. It's so fun. Even my friend is reading some of his work, and that's what's making me think about him. Alright, bye. Good morning! Welcome again to Bookstahooda in the car! I was going to listen to The Hitchhiker's Guide on the way here, which I've really been enjoying. It's narrated by Stephen Fry. I rented it from the library because I'm poor, and then I, finished disc 1, went to put in disc 2. Discs 2 and 4 are missing. So I'm gonna have to explain it to the library, like, please, I didn't steal these. I don't do that kind of thing. So that's really annoying. Okay, so cars are coming. Anyway, check in later, bye! $50 times 500. Is that like 2,500? Or is that... I don't know. I can't think that high. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's 25,000, 2,500, or is there something in between there? A decimal point that I'm missing? Garage sale? Anyone?